Okay, so this is the editor. When you first open it with no projects open or anything, this is what you're met with. This is the welcome screen for the IDE of Polycode. As you can see, you have two buttons. You can either create a new project or browse the examples. So if we click here real quick in the examples, you have the 2D physics examples, you got a few. You have your 3D physics example, you got a few as well. You have the audio examples. You have your game demo. There's a little platformer in there. And you have your graphics and your input. So this is good. These are good examples to learn from. So I would suggest that you take a look at a few of these and learn from them. So if we go ahead and create a new project, you'll be met with this. You can either have it be a 2D project, a 3D project, or just a plain old empty one. I'm just gonna start out with an empty one. That way it's not too generalized. So I'm just gonna name this test. You can give it a directory if you like. I'm gonna go ahead and switch these to forward slashes. And I'm just gonna click on create the project. And there you go. After you click on creating the project, this is what you're met with. And as you can see over here, this is pretty much the project hierarchy. You have a script folder with your main.lua inside of it. This is where you're gonna do all your Lua code. You're gonna start your scripting with giving it the scene that you want to have show at the very start. We'll go over that later. Right now, I'm just going to show you the how the IDE works. So if you click on this file right here, this .poly project, you have all your project settings. You can make your screen as big as you want it to be. I'm gonna leave it at that. Actually, just leave it at that. I'm gonna target 60 frames per second. I don't want VSync. And I'm gonna do something here. Instead of creating the project like this, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new folder. So the way that you can get this little menu up is by right-clicking, and this will pop up for you. You can right-click on a file, and new file comes up for some reason, but I wouldn't suggest that. Only do that for the root of your hierarchy and for any folders that you have inside of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new folder. I'm gonna call this folder assets. And in this folder, I'm going to move this inside of it. I'm gonna click it. Nope, never mind. Let me create some new folders first. I'm gonna have to go into the Windows directory and move that manually. I'm gonna create an image folder. I'm gonna create a font folder just to hold all my fonts. And I am going to create a entity folder. Click on that. If I expand that, I have all my folders in there. This script folder, I'm gonna move it in here. I gotta go in here real quick though. And Polycode test. In here, I'm gonna go ahead and move it over. They're all in there. Put that down. Now you see that the change hasn't happened yet here. What you can do is right click on the root of your hierarchy and refresh. Now your folder is inside of now the script folder is inside of the assets folder that I made. You don't have to make your project this way. This is the way I do it for organization purposes. You can organize your project whatever way it is that you want to organize it. This is the way I like to organize it. Okay, so now we have that. You're probably asking yourself, how do you create an entity? Well, inside of my entity folder, I'm gonna go ahead and right click and I'm gonna create a new file. When I click that, this comes up. You have a few options. You can make an entity, which out of this entity extension, that's what you're gonna have your character be, your levels, stuff like that. You can see that you have a sprite set, you have a sprite, you even have materials. You have your GLSL, your fragments, and your vertex shaders. You have a material library, and you have your scripting section. For now, it only has Lua. So I want an entity. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on entity, and I'm going to call this level 1. Create the file. I have my my file inside of my entity folder. I click on that, and you have your scene right here. Right now it's a 3D scene. I'm thinking about making this a 2D scene instead of a 3D scene. So I'm gonna go up here and right where it says 2D, I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. It'll flatten everything out for me. For now, for some reason, it only has the X axis. It should really show the Y axis as well. But like I said, Polycode is still in beta. So this will improve. Now that we have that, we need to add entities into this, right? We need a character, and in order to make a character, I need to have a sprite. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a sprite that I made. I didn't make it, but I made the sprite sheet. Let me go into here. Here he is. So this is the character that I'm gonna be using. I made him into a sprite sheet that is inside of another folder of mine. Give me a minute. There he is, right here. I'll go ahead and copy that. I'm gonna go back into the images and I'm going to paste him in. As you notice, that hasn't updated. Just go up here and refresh, and now you got your image. This is my image that I'm gonna be creating a little animation with the Sprite Editor that Polycode has. So in here, should I do it in the entity folder? Nah, let's make it in the image folder. Let's go ahead and create a new file. And right where it says sprite set, go ahead and choose that. And I'm gonna name this Ninja. Create the file, sprite, and this is what you're met with. This is the little sprite editor that Polycode brings. It's pretty neat sprite editor. I really like this one. So you're gonna have to add in a sprite name. I'm gonna call this Ninja again. Okay, and you have states. Once you create a sprite, you'll have a few states. As you can see here, this is default. If you want to rename any new state that you want, you can go ahead over here where these 3 dots are. Click that. This will pop up. It says rename. Click it. Rename the selected state. I'm gonna call this idle. Click OK. And now you have to bring in the actual sprite sheet. So this ninja.png that I brought in, I'm gonna bring this in to this Sprite Editor. So I'm gonna right here where it says change image, click on that. Inside the image folder, I have the ninja.png. Click on it. Click OK. Now we got this. Now I can manually select this by holding down left click and dragging and doing like that, and manually selecting each one. This is good if you have different size sprites, so you can manually select them however it is that you want. But mine are in a nice line. They're not different in any size or anything. So I can just I'll click on clear here. Clear will deselect everything. Click on clear, takes it away. If you notice this right here where it says uniform grid, this will make a grid out of a pre-selected options. So pretty much when I click on options, it'll be a 32 by 32 pixel grid. So if I click on generate right now, it'll make a 32 by 32 pixel grid. You can create this at whatever pixel, however big you want these little squares to be. So all you have to do is just change the pixel size of them. So let me show you that real quick here. Let me clear that. They make this a 64 by 64. And I click generate. See how the squares are bigger? Just like that. So if you have a sprite sheet where you brought it into Photoshop and in Photoshop you made them 64 by 64 or 32 by 32, this will be a nice, fast and easy way to cut them up to be able to animate them down here. I'm not going to be using this. I'm going to go ahead and clear that. But I can click on this button right here, and you'll see that it has detect frames. I'm going to detect that. I'm going to generate. As you can see, it selected all my images nicely. So with those selected, I'm going to go down here. And you see where it says append right here? It's going to append all of the images that are selected right now. I'm going to click on that. Oh, no, wait. You need to select them. So click on it. You can left click it. And it'll append one if you want just one to be added in. Or you can do multiple. So I already select this one, so I'm not going to remove it. Actually, let's go ahead and remove it. See this button right here? Remove, and it'll remove it. Simple like that. So if you want multiple ones like I want to animate this idle state, I'm going to go ahead and hold down Shift and click on each and every one of the images that I want inside of my animation right here. After they're all selected, I click on Append, and there they are. Over here, you have a nice little preview window, seeing him animate. Right now, he's pretty fast, so I don't want that. Because if you notice over here, you got your little you can change some selections around here, like frame per second. Right now it's at 60. I don't want that, so I'm gonna go ahead and say 28. That looks better. Maybe a little slower. I'm gonna go ahead and say 18. Okay, that's better. I like that. You can pause it if you want. And one thing that I just noticed is if you see these 3 dots right here, you can actually expand this if you like. If you want it to take more than just one little frame, that's what these little squares on top mean. They're each a frame. So if I click on this and drag, you see how it expands? It's adding frames into them. So if you notice over here in the preview, when it's highlighting over here, it stays right on that one frame. So if you want a frame to be dragged out, then you can go ahead and do that right from here. I don't want that, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that away. Whoop. It's not taking it away. There you go. This must be a bug. Yeah, it's not taking it away at all. Pause that. Yep. This is a bug. Oh, go ahead and add that back in. Going to append it. There you go. There. Okay. So now that that's done, go ahead and click on save here. Control S to save it. So now that I have my sprite, I can go over to my entities folder and create a new entity. I'm going to call him a ninja. Create. Click on it. Starts out in 3D. Switch it to 2D. Now, this might be a little confusing because it doesn't really tell you anything right here in the properties because nothing is selected. The hierarchy is actually in the middle of these 3 buttons. So right now, in default, it's on the properties. So when something is selected, it'll show you all the properties of that selection. But since we don't have anything, it comes out blank. So you might get a little confused with that. But if you click next to that, that brings up the hierarchy. You have yourself the root, and then you will add sprites, whatever image it is that you want, into this entity via this root. But if you go over here, you see this little plus sign, this little circle plus. If you click on it, you can add all kinds of things to be added into this entity. So if I go ahead and click add sprite, this will come up, but there's nothing, right? That's because you got to add it into the over here in entity settings. So you have your hierarchy in the middle, and you have your entity settings, and you can link resources to this entity. So you're going to click on this button. This will pop up, and you will tell it in which folder it is that the resource that you want to link to this entity. Mine is inside of images. So if I click on images, the sprite will pop up. I click on it. I click OK. As you can see, it comes up. So now my Ninja sprite is a resource of this entity. So I go back to my hierarchy. I make sure that my root is selected. Now I can go back up here where this little plus sign is, click on it, and I can go down to add a sprite, and it'll pop up. I just click on it. You can see he's animating a little bit. Click OK. Oh, try that again. Okay, there you go. Whoa, he's massive. Okay. As you can see, I can move him around if I want, whichever way I want. Now, if I want to scale him, up here, you see these three. This is right now we are in the move, being able to move the sprite in an X and the Y direction. We can do scaling, so that's the middle one. You can scale it in the X direction, or you can scale it in the Y direction. We're going to scale this down. This thing is massive. That's better. There you go. I think that's better. Let me move him down a little bit. Okay. Or the last one, you can rotate him like that. Those are three pretty basic tools on every single game engine out there. Now, you have these other buttons. This one, I'm not sure what it does. So I'm just gonna leave that right there. This one actually, you can have it transparent, or you can have it, you know, with all the images and whatnot. And right, okay. So over here, if we go back to the hierarchy over here, you can see that the sprite is unnamed, so it has no name. You can't right click it or double click it to change the name for now. So what you can do is you can go up here, click back on the properties. As you can see, we now have things that we can change. So in the ID under entity, there's an ID. You can name it whatever it is that you want. I'm just gonna name it Ninja. Click enter. Press enter actually. And if I go back to hierarchy, it changes the name to Ninja. So that's about how Polycode works. If let me see if I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, up here, this is the little play button. It will build it, and it will and you will be able to preview the scene. If I click on it, this is our little scene that we will be previewing that, but we can't see it now because in the script we don't have Lua telling which scene, which entity actually, which is our level 1 scene, to bring it up, instance it, and show it on the screen. As you can see over here, it's blank. So we have to script this in, telling the player of Polycode to instance the scene and to add our ninja scene into the scene. So that's it for now. In the next one, I'm gonna be scripting this out, showing you a little bit about Lua, and I will also script this out in C++. Stay tuned for that.